Thank you, guys.
Why did the documents breach go undetected for so long?
I think the pool has to gather.
I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to a former White House stenographer who this month outed you as an anonymous senior administration official who briefed reporters on Air Force Two en route to Ukraine in 2014. He says that you spoke about giving aid to the Ukrainian national gas industry just days after the second son had secretly joined the board of a Ukrainian gas company. He says he considers you part of a corrupt influence peddling conspiracy. He wants to testify to a Delaware grand jury about it. Do you have a response to that? And were you part of a corrupt influence peddling operation involving the Biden family in Ukraine or any other country?
No.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jake. Two questions.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, now that he has released the outlines of his plan on the debt limit, why is now the time for the president to actually speak to the Speaker and begin substantive negotiations?
So here's the thing, Zeke. Look, we've been very clear. We're not going to negotiate over avoiding default. We've been very clear about that. But what they have done is they have put those two things together, the debt ceiling and spending cuts. And we have always been very clear, Zeke. We have been very, very clear. We are not going to negotiate when it comes to the full faith and credit of this nation, and they are holding that hostage currently. They're holding the economy hostage, and so look, they have to. We're not negotiating over that, and they have to avoid default. It's very clear. It's very clear. They need to make sure that.
You said from the podium that the U.S. government has been telling Americans not to go to Sudan for more than a decade, and if they're there to leave. Obviously, that message has had limited impact because there are thousands of Americans who were living in Sudan when this fighting broke out. Is there more that needs to be done for Americans in countries where you think they should not be to drive home that message in a more direct way so that they're not in harm's way when danger erupts?
Look, Americans are free people. We cannot dictate where they travel, tell them they must go or not go to a particular place.
You say the U.S. is temporarily pulled out of Sudan and will return when it's safe to do so. I'm curious if you'd respond to the charges over the weekend that, in essence, the Biden administration now has lost 2 U.S. embassies during the president's term. And I've got another on Lavrov, if you don't mind. Go ahead.
I'm not sure what you mean by a charge about quote-unquote losing embassies. The broader diplomatic community, including the entire United Nations community in Khartoum, has closed down. In Sudan, diplomatic personnel from allies and partners around the world are being evacuated. And of course, the United States has evacuated its personnel. This happens from time to time, and if you look back over the course of months and years, you see military-assisted departures from embassies. You see, in some cases, non-combatant evacuation operations.
Senator Klobuchar on CNN yesterday said that President Biden should sit down and negotiate with the Speaker on the budget, but also made clear that the spending cuts and should not be tied to the debt ceiling. And so would President Biden sit down with McCarthy to debate, to negotiate their different budget proposals, or what is the position?
So I want to be very clear here. We have been very clear. There will not be any negotiation around the debt ceiling. Right? This is something that is their constitutional duty to. We've been very, very clear. It is unreasonable to put forth what they did last week. It is cruel. That piece of legislation is cruel. And so they need to really make sure that we don't go into default, and that's what they're asking to do. They're asking to hold our economy hostage and go into default, and that's something that we're going to continue to call out.
Now, last week you didn't seem to rule out the possibility, though, of President Biden sitting down with McCarthy at some point. Is that something you're open to?
So look, again, House Republicans must avoid default. Been very clear, and that is within their power to do at any moment. That is within their power to do at any moment. And so that's what we're expecting them to see. I think I have to wrap it up super quick, guys. Go ahead.